Howdy, folks. I'm Hector, the humongous hand glider.
I'm Amber.
And here's some swift sailing Reddit. Amber doesn't approve.
Do I ever approve?
Of course. Every single day. Our first letter is titled, Am I the Jerk for Telling My Parents the Truth About My Stepsister's Fiance Since They Now Won't Pay for Her Wedding? I'm a 28-year-old female, and I have a stepsister, Jen, a 29-year-old female. Our parents got together when we were teenagers, and Jen and I never clicked. I have nothing against her, we just aren't close. From the ages of 22 to 26, I worked at my stepdad's company, and Jen worked there too, and still does. While working there, I became friendly with a colleague, Pete. Everyone in the office would joke about Pete having a crush on me, but I never saw him like that, and he never said anything, so I didn't really pay much attention to the possibility. However, when I started dating my now husband, things got a bit awkward with Pete. When I quit my job, Pete and I didn't really stay in contact, but we did follow each other on social media. It was a few months later that I saw on Pete's social media that he had started seeing Jen. Well, Pete and Jen got engaged last year, and since my stepdad agreed to pay for the wedding. A few weeks ago, an old colleague got married, so me, Jen, Pete, and my parents were all at the wedding. Pete was a little over-friendly at the reception, which I put down to alcohol. Later in the evening, though, I was outside getting some air, and Pete came out and basically propositioned me. I made it clear that I was extremely uncomfortable, and I went back inside. Well, the next day I called Jen and I told her everything. She accused me of trying to ruin her relationship and said that I shouldn't make the whole situation worse by telling her dad, since I had already done enough to sabotage her relationships. I agreed because I didn't feel that I had any right to continue being a spanner in the works. A week ago, I was Skyping my parents and they were talking about Jen's wedding. They were talking about Pete, and my face must have changed because they immediately asked if something was wrong. I insisted it was nothing, but it turned out that they had seen Pete follow me out at the wedding and had their own theories about what he had done to upset me, all of which were worse than what actually happened. After 20 minutes of them thinking the worst, I told them the truth. I begged them not to do anything about it since Jen and Pete worked it out, but my stepdad was livid. He called Jen and they had a huge fight, and he refused to pay for the wedding or even attend. Jen has been calling me and texting me and posting on social media about what a horrible person I am for ruining her wedding. And I've had messages from her friends telling me how awful it was for me to tell our parents after she asked me not to, and saying how I've basically ruined Pete's career, etc. I tried to explain that letting my parents continue to assume would have led to worse consequences, but apparently I should have just been able to hide the whole thing somehow. My friend said that I did nothing wrong, but my stepdad is now not speaking to Jen, and her whole wedding has been canceled because of me. So I do feel guilty. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. You're never the jerk for outing a harasser.
Yeah, that's sweet, short, simple, and succinct. I think that is a good point. People who have been harassed are not to blame for being harassed.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of consequences going on here, but this is all because of Pete. If Pete had not propositioned OP, none of this fallout would have started. So Jen really needs to be looking at Pete and what he did and not blaming this all on OP.
Yeah, Pete needs to keep it in his pants.
Yeah.
What was this guy thinking? He's working for OP's stepdad. Where do you think, hey, you know what would be a great idea? I'm going to proposition the one person who could probably really damage my life completely. Unless, he was propositioning the OP's dad directly. Yeah, it's like, this was such a bad idea on so many levels. Yeah, I just don't understand. He couldn't have just kept it in his pants. Like, really, Pete, really.
Well, and I don't blame the stepdad for being upset. And honestly, Jen's being a bit of a jerk here by siding with him and just feel like, oh, I'm just gonna sweep this under the rug. Like,
yeah.
What he did isn't okay. And of course, OP's dad wants to protect his daughter.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a couple things that I do want to point out here. Is one, there's this phrase here that indicates multiple relationships that OP may have ruined, but I think that that's actually just bad grammar, because OP does have some questionable grammar in here. So I don't think that OP has ruined multiple relationships, but if she has, and they are under similar conditions, then that still isn't OP's fault.
Right, that's the important thing, is like, it's not your fault if you get unwanted attention. Like, no one is to blame. Like, if you go out and start seducing your siblings' partners, you shouldn't
Maybe
do that.
Maybe you shouldn't do that, right?
But if you just happen to walk by and they are like, ooh, I'm going to go chase her, like, that's not your responsibility.
Yeah. And then also with Jen, I think there's the sunk cost fallacy going on here. She's put a lot of time, money, energy into this relationship. She doesn't want to let it go. She wants to fix it and repair it and sweep all the problems with it under the rug, because she's had her fairy tale wedding in her head and she really just wants to have that, and she feels like she's been robbed of it. And that's a bad place to be at, because this is just going to end in divorce. She needs to realize that he's going to cheat on her. He's already proven that he's willing to cheat on her if the right person comes along. Right.
And even if he wants to blame this on the alcohol, like, people like to do that. You're still responsible for what you do when you're under the influence.
Exactly. So, OP, no, I don't think that you're the jerk. Anyhow, take care and good luck. And Normal Blue Jay 9388 says, not the jerk. It was never your intention to reveal until your parents somehow got it out of you. And it's better that they canceled the wedding, because your sister deserves better, even though she can't see it now. And OP replies, at the moment she is still planning on marrying Pete, just in a wedding that she will have to pay for. So sad and unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And One Awareness 3671 says, not the jerk. The wedding has not been canceled because of you. It's been canceled because of Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that this is the first time Pete has done this to a woman, and that's why your parents thought the worst what had happened. This was probably the last straw. Yeah, I mean, imagine if he already has like a couple of complaints on him and HR, because they'll have those kinds of insights. And if he's been accumulating incidents here and there that are minor, relatively minor, or people being like, oh, I don't want him to get fired for this or something like that, then there may be accumulating evidence against him.
Or even just suspicions in the workplace.
Yeah, if he has a reputation, so to speak. So, yeah, not good. Bad Pete. Bad. Alright, folks, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ruining Someone's Dinner Because I Didn't Accommodate a Family Friend with a Gluten Intolerance? My husband and I both have decently large families. On occasion, I'll host my family get-togethers for everyone to catch up on things, drink, and just hang out. I'm in charge of cooking dinner for everyone, and sometimes my close family will help with the cooking. There were 2 different times at get-togethers where I didn't recognize someone there, and my husband wouldn't either. Even my mom or aunt didn't know them, and I found out it was just a distant cousin of mine. So seeing people that I don't recognize or know who they are is a recurring thing, and I just had to get used to it with the families being this large. I hosted a get-together last night, and it wasn't as big as some of the other ones that we've hosted in the past, but I did see a woman who I didn't recognize. I didn't mind, but I asked my husband who the woman was, and he told me that it was a friend of his uncle's. I finished up cooking with my aunt, and everyone comes in to set up their plates. The family friend came up to me and asked if I made anything without gluten. I apologized and I told her no, that I didn't. She asked me if I could make her something, and I told her that nearly took me the whole day to cook and that I just want to sit down and relax now. She got defensive and said that if I'm making dinner for all of these people, that there should at least be something else that's gluten-free. I told her that there is no one that I know in the family who has a gluten intolerance, and that if I knew that she was going to be here, that I would have made her something. She yelled at me, saying that I ruined this for her, which I confused about. I ruined what? And she is never going to come back here. My husband's uncle came in and told me that I should have just made her something to eat and just to get over it with it, and I told him no. She can eat whenever she has the opportunity to. I don't want to get her sick, and that I'm tired and done with cooking for the night. They both ended up leaving, and I was talking to my husband about it, and he got mad at me, saying that I pretty much ruined dinner for them, and that I should have just made something for her to eat, and that his uncle will probably not be coming by here again. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. And why didn't your husband cook or hit the uncle, or, if he had your permission to use the kitchen?
Yeah.
Any number of these people could have cooked. It sounds like OP is doing a lot of work, and people are kind of taking advantage of OP's kindness here.
Yeah, OP is not a chef for everyone to order around to cook up. OP is doing this out of the kindness of their heart in order to make a lovely dinner for everyone. And I think that that's really the crux of the issue here. There are other people who could have cooked. And OP had already a long day cooking for this. And so I don't blame OP for not wanting to be cooking even more. And
it's just like common sense and common courtesy that if someone does have a dietary restriction, you communicate that to the host in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is OP supposed to just read minds and know, oh yes, there's going to be a guest coming who has a gluten intolerance? Yeah. If anyone was at fault, it was the uncle. Mm-hmm. The uncle should have made OP well aware in advance that this was a problem, and then OP could have accommodated them. It sounds like OP would have. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a tea joke for us. Oh, no, I don't. I'm not prepared. Can I tell you another joke?
No, you can tell us a tea joke. Go ahead, lay the tea joke on us. Spill the tea. I was just kidding, Amber. You don't have to tell a tea joke.
But now I feel obligated. I'm trying to come up with one.
I'm just being ornery, folks. Amber, you can tell a regular joke, of course.
What did the dog say to the banana? Oh, no, never mind. I read it backwards. What did the banana say to the dog?
Well, the banana said to the dog nothing, because bananas can't speak. And if the dog thinks that the banana is speaking to it, then there's a lot of other issues at play here. It's really kind of sad, because the dog can't even articulate that the banana is trying to speak to it, which is probably making things very confusing for the poor pup. Now that's the punchline. Yeah.
No, nothing. Bananas can't talk. That's really the punchline.
Nothing. Bananas. In my ridiculousness, I managed to get the punchline correct, but I was expecting a different punchline.
What tea was Rosie the Riveter's favorite?
What tea was Rosie the Riveter's favorite? None, because it was coffee. Coffee was Rosie the Riveter's favorite.
Empowerment.
Empowerment. I see. I get it.
See, I got you a tea joke after all.
And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. Amber, what's the moral of the story?
I mean, I would say one moral is don't proposition your partner's siblings.
Yeah, I mean, don't cheat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can narrow down so many of these episodes with please just don't cheat. You'll make everyone's life easier that way. And thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.